Thank you to the Denver Nuggets for saving basketball in the NBA.
I'm going straight to the top. Just put the stack on the clock. I am Ray Allen's a shot. I'm going straight to the top.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Mike here, Sports in the Real Podcast. Appreciate y'all joining me once again, as always. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share and comment and all that stuff. Appreciate y'all hanging out once again. NBA playoffs are here. I got a lot to say. I'm going to save some of it for another episode. A lot of hot takes I can't say right now till some of the series are over. But I did want to jump on to share my thoughts on some of the series that are done and got wrapped up. So let's jump right into it. So first of all, before I talk about some of the other stuff, I want to say this. The NBA playoffs and the intensity in the playoffs is, to me, like, that is real basketball. And for those of you who love basketball and actual strategic basketball and tough basketball with defense and, like, the regular season doesn't matter, and I've said this a number of times on this podcast. Like, the regular season basketball is not made for old heads, people who grew up, watching 90s and early 2000s basketball. It's not made for us. All right? Our generation has already been sucked in, so they know, the NBA knows we're going to watch regardless. So they're trying to suck in all these new guys, casuals, as we call them, right? People who just want to see highlights, open three-point shots and so on and so forth, right? Of course, analytics has a lot to do with that, and I got something to say about that in a bit. But the intensity in the playoffs of the NBA is unlike any other sport in terms of, like, how different it is from the regular season. Like, I don't know of any other sport. Football, they say the intensity goes up, right? I'm sure in baseball the pressure goes up as well. Hockey definitely goes up, right? More fights. Cats are more agitated if you watch the hockey playoffs. But the difference between the intensity of playoff basketball and regular season basketball in the NBA is night and day. And it's like, what is preventing the NBA from allowing this type of atmosphere throughout the whole season? Yeah, I know it's going to be hard to replicate it for 82 games, right? I don't expect the NBA players to go 100% all out in the regular season like they do in the playoffs. But it would be a better product if the NBA allowed the physicality as they do in the playoffs, which I've talked about a number of times on this podcast. If you go back to the 2023-2024 season preview, I talked about the fact that my main recommendation for the NBA was to allow these dudes to play. Just like in the NFL, the hype, the conflict, that stuff gets players engaged, it gets fans engaged, is the physicality. In the NBA, essentially removed that from the game, and so the NBA regular season becomes a layup line and three-point shooting contest for the most part, and, the fans aren't as engaged. But in the playoffs, it's clear the fans are engaged. Social media is blowing up if you're on social. The fans in the arena are all into it because that's what sports is. It gets your adrenaline pumping. It gets your testosterone pumping with somebody all up in your chest. Like, that's what causes the playoffs to be so much of a better watch than the NBA regular season, because somebody's all up in your shirt. They're getting physical. You're not getting the whistle. Your shots aren't going in as they normally do, so you're so frustrated. Next thing you know, you're pushing and shoving, and the fans are riled up. So you don't have to manufacture in-season tournaments if you're the NBA, because the game is naturally intense. You don't have to create false intensity with an in-season tournament and all these things you're looking to do. No, man. If these dudes are allowed to play basketball in and of itself, whether you're playing pickup ball on a weekend, like basketball, if you have contact and you're frustrated because you're not making shots like you usually do, you're not going to be happy, and you're going to start lashing out. You're going to start pushing off a bit, and next thing you know, you got to, you have some serious conflict in an actual basketball game and not just a three-point shooting contest. So all this talk about, players from, the 2020s and, they're so much better, the athletes are so much better, that's why you can't play defense. No. That's not, and as I've said this 100 times, it's not why the defense is so bad. The defense in the NBA right now is not bad because dudes are so much better scorers. They're so much better athletes. The defense is so bad because the rules have made it so that defense is so bad. So now in the playoffs, the defense looks good and dudes are having trouble scoring. So teams who usually score like 60, sometimes 70 points and a half, it's like the third quarter, the Dallas Mavericks have like 40 points. That's basketball. That's defense. So that's the stuff that the NBA regular season needs. And I don't know how Adam Silver can look at this product in the playoffs, the NBA product in the playoffs, and go back to a regular season where dudes are running layup lines and three-point contests. Like, let them play. Let them play basketball. These guys want to do it. It's not going to look exactly the same. I wouldn't expect it to. It's a long season. But let them play. I promise you, Adam Silver, you will gain more fans by allowing physicality than you will lose fans. Whoever was the consultant, the suit, whoever it was who never played basketball who told you you would get more fans by allowing a layup line and a free throw three-point shooting contest was dead-ass wrong. And the playoffs prove it. Like, the fans in the arena are so much engaged, so much more engaged than in the regular season, not just because there's a lot at stake, but because of the intensity. You can feel it in the air. And it's what people grew up watching. But for some reason, the league went away from it, trying to bring in the casuals. So all that talk about efficiency and, the players are so great because they're just so much better shooters and the spacing. Funny how all that goes out the window when dudes are allowed to play defense. When the refs aren't calling every ticky-tack foul, when it's not just a train ride to the free throw line, funny how all that stuff takes a dip and efficiency goes down, but the level of play, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion who grew up on that type of basketball, the level of play goes up. Because now dudes prove themselves whether or not they're legit or not. Like Jalen Brunson is proving that he's a baller. He doesn't need ticky-tack fouls to score 40 points. Like, he's a baller. Tyrese Maxey is a baller with or without a bunch of free throws. So I'm glad the NBA allows this kind of stuff in the playoffs. I just wish the regular season would be allowed to play out just the same style. So, big thumbs up to the playoffs. All right, moving on. On that note, in that same vein, I want to personally thank the Denver Nuggets. All right? I want to thank Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic for saving basketball, man. As I watch the Denver Nuggets in the playoffs, I've been watching them throughout the regular season. They play so much more different than everybody else. So essentially, everybody else wants to play 5 out. They want to jack up a lot of threes, right? They're playing, analytics basketball. Thank you to the Denver Nuggets for saving basketball in the NBA, for proving that it's okay to not jack up a bunch of threes from the corner and not spam corner threes. Not everything has to be a drive and kick to the corner three. Thank you, the Denver Nuggets, for saving basketball. Thank you, Nikola Jokic, for growing up in Serbia and for your coach teaching you footwork and how to be an actual big man. Thank you for taking hook shots, Nikola Jokic. Thank you to Jamal Murray for taking contested two-pointers. The shots that the analytics community says is not efficient. The points per possession on a long two-pointer aren't worth it, so go and take a three. No, Denver Nuggets are winning with long twos and footwork in the post. Hook shots and up and unders, things that dudes did in the 80s and 90s. So thank you to the Denver Nuggets for saving basketball. Thank you to Mike Malone for allowing these dudes to play basketball and not forcing them to play the same style as everybody else, which is high pick and roll, drive, pass it out, pass, three-pointer in the corner. Thank you for playing a style of basketball that just makes sense. That's logical. You take the best shot available. Whatever the defense gives you is what you take. So Jamal Murray is not proving that he's one of the best cats in the league at closing games, and he's closing games by taking long two-pointers. that the analytics community would say, hell no. And the analytics community tried to get rid of the post game, saying the post game is inefficient. But the Joker is killing dudes in the post with some basic ass moves. So I want to thank the Denver Nuggets for saving basketball. You don't have to rely on just threes and layups. No good defense is going to allow you to just take threes and layups. The Lakers were not going to let the Denver Nuggets win by just taking threes and layups. They weren't. So they had to find different shots. And Jamal Murray and the Joker, they brought it home. And they beat the Lakers. I'll get into that in a second. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you, Denver, for saving basketball. Thank you, Jamal Murray. Thank you to the Joker for saving basketball from the nerds who tried to take away the human mind and the artistic part of the game. The nerds try to take the artistic part away from the game. They try to turn everyone into robots. You can only do this. You can only take three-pointers. You can only take layups. No, man. You take what the defense gives you and you work on your game until you can make those two-pointers and make them efficiently. So I appreciate you, Joker. And I appreciate you, Jamal Murray. And speaking of Jamal and the Joker, I've said this before and I'll say it again. These guys are like the best duo in the league. And there's a lot of talking about, the Joker, giving the Joker a lot of credit and deservedly so. The Joker is undeniable. He's inevitable. His skill set is amazing. But what I'm afraid is going to happen is Jamal Murray is going to turn into the sidekick that nobody hardly talks about. They only talk about it when they're trying to praise the Joker. Like people do Scottie Pippen now and diminish Scottie's career, right? They don't give Scottie enough credit for what he did for the Bulls. Like the Joker and Jamal Murray is like the perfect duo. Not everybody could fill Jamal Murray's shoes in relation to the Joker, could play that sidekick. Yeah, there are some guys who are as talented, but not all personality-wise, not everyone's going to fit. Like his game, Jamal Murray's game fits perfectly with the Joker. And not everyone would have success playing next to the Joker because they would want to get their shot off. They would want to show that they're the number one. But Jamal Murray is fine playing the number two. So if you ask me who are the best duos in the league, I would put Jamal Murray and the Joker as number one. Not because Jamal Murray is one of the top 5 or 10 best players in the league, but as a duo, there is no other duo that meshes as well as they do. Yeah, there's teams with two, top 10, 15 players, right? Like Giannis and Dame, maybe. Maybe Anthony Davis and LeBron. But as a duo, like the way they're just so in sync, they play off of each other. They essentially, complement each other so well. But people want to underrate Jamal Murray. People want to say, hey, he's not as good. He's raised up by the Joker. The same way people say Scottie Pippen wasn't that good. Michael Jordan made him look good. People are now starting to say the Joker is making Jamal Murray look good. And I don't I don't want history to show to talk about Jamal Murray like people are starting to talk about Scottie Pippen. I don't want 20 years from now for people to act like Jamal Murray wasn't as important to this championship run with the Denver Nuggets as the Joker. Because he does so much besides just, obviously the last second shots that he makes. Just the ability to handle the ball and to distribute. The ability when things aren't going well to stay in there. To keep taking shots. Like that dude is nice and deserves credit. And I'm afraid that people are going to look at him as just, the sidekick and not really as important to this championship run and championship runs that Denver has had the last couple years. So shout out to Jamal, man. He's a straight killer. He's not afraid of the moment to take big shots. He is clutch as heck. Like don't treat this dude like just some random guy, man. Like Jamal Murray is a legit number 2, and he is the best duo. Don't don't underrate what he means to the Denver Nuggets, which is what I'm starting to see on social media. Like, nah, he's as important as anyone. Like, not anyone could have filled Scottie Pippen's shoes with the Bulls. People say that, well, Michael Jordan could have won with anybody. No, not really. It took someone like Scottie to play with Michael, someone who wasn't going to try to overstep his boundaries, someone who wasn't going to try to take the mic from Mike, right? Scottie Pippen was okay, at least it seemed, but even though now he's lashing out. But now Scottie's actually lashing out because he feels like he's not getting the credit he deserves. So if we don't want Jamal Murray to lash out in 20 years like Scottie, give the man the praise now that he deserves. But Michael Jordan wasn't going to win with just anyone. It took a Scottie Pippen who complimented him as well as anyone could compliment another player. And just played his role, set the team up, ran his small forward, point forward position, distributed, locked up the best player on the other team, like without complaining. Like, you couldn't just put anybody else in there and say, hey, let's go win. Nah, man, let's go win a championship. It wasn't going to work like that. And the same thing with Jamal Murray. There may be other cats who are great players, great offensive players, but it takes a special player to be okay with playing, knowing how good he is, to be okay with playing the second fiddle in Denver to the Joker. Even though everybody's going to give Joker all the credit, the Joker is going to always win MVPs, and Jamal Murray so far has not made an all-star game, which is ridiculous. All that's going to happen, right? But Jamal's kept his mouth shut. He just balls out. And unfortunately, people aren't giving him credit because he's not speaking up. Just like they don't want to give Scottie Pippen credit for those Bulls championships. And what I'm hoping that we do is we give the man all the praise and all the credit that he deserves now so that in 20, 25 years, he's not coming out with a book bashing the Joker. All right? So let's give the man his props right now. All right. Moving on. So we're talking about the Nuggets. The Nuggets beat the Lakers. I predicted it. And I'm going to give props to the Lakers, all right? I predicted it was going to be an easy cupcake series. It really wasn't. The Lakers really made them work for it. I don't think the Nuggets played their best basketball, but the Lakers made them work, man. That's credit to LeBron, old man, for not mailing it in. Clearly at a disadvantage. The Denver Nuggets are just a better team. Credit to AD. Yeah, there was a couple fourth quarters where he didn't show up, but he balled out, man. He had every excuse in the world. You're asking me to guard this guy who outweighs me by 50 pounds and go dominate on offense? Like, he was hurt, hobbled, as AD always is. But shout out to LeBron and AD for battling, man. Clearly undermanned. Clearly that the Lakers aren't as good of a team. They don't have they're not as synchronized. They're not as in sync, right? They don't have the team ball that the Denver Nuggets play. They don't play that. Part of that is, I ain't gonna lie, I'm gonna blame LeBron for that. But that's a different topic. But shout out to Bron and AD for playing the Denver Nuggets tough. But clearly the Nuggets were a better team. So in the end, I was right. Turned out to be a gentleman's sweep. I thought it was gonna be a blowout, but they hung in there tough. So shout out to Bron and AD for that. But while I'm giving props to Bron and AD, I do want to say Darvin Ham. People talking about Darvin Ham's going to get, he should get fired. The problem with the Lakers, man, is no matter who you bring in now, that team is just old, all right? The Lakers are just an older team, and no matter who you bring in to coach now, sometimes time is up, man. Father time is LeBron's going to continue to be LeBron. He's going to continue to get his buckets. He's going to continue to score points. He might get to 45,000 points, 50,000 points. Who knows before he retires? But I've said it before, and I'll say it again. LeBron James is done winning championships as the number one. And on this Lakers team, he has to be the number one option. Just like I said last episode that Steph Curry is done winning as the number one. LeBron is done winning as the number one option. So the Lakers now have a decision to make. Do they continue to re-sign LeBron, which they probably will because he puts butts in the seat, knowing that good and well they're not going to win a championship again with LeBron as the number one option? You're not going to compete with Denver. Like, Minnesota's up and coming. Like, some of these young teams are up and coming. So the Lakers they're going to continue to be good because LeBron's going to keep them, in contention. But we can't continue to blame the coach. And we can't continue to blame the role players, even though, the role players can be improved. And I think the role players are overrated. But at some point, Lakers ownership is going to have to determine what is more important. Do I want to win or do I want to put butts in the seats? And I could understand them, being like, hey, man, the butts in the seats bring the money. Blowing everything up now ain't going to bring in the money. So it's a tough decision, man. It's a conflict. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. What do you do? Money with the butts in the seats, or do you try to, you get rid of LeBron, you trade LeBron, you try to redo the roster? Because the roster as it is now and the play style as it is now with LeBron being the focal point, even though he'll still get his 25, 26, 27 points, that style is not winning any more championships. LeBron James is done winning championships as the number one option. Forget about it. Like when you're watching and you're like, his body's not going to let him do what he used to do. For someone who for so long relied on their physical presence and their ability to dominate, he's not able to physically dominate anymore. He's not able to play multiple positions on the floor anymore. He's not able to guard anymore. Like, I'm watching him play defense like he's getting backdoored by Aaron Gordon. So it's a tough position. Like, I'm still get points, but really they're empty stats. They're empty calories. So the Lakers have a tough decision to make, but LeBron's done winning championships. So is Steph Curry. And so is Kevin Durant. This hurts to say, man. Kevin Durant is one of my favorite players of all time. He never played on my favorite team, but Kevin Durant has been, for as long as he's been in the league, one of my favorite players in the league, one of my favorite players to watch. Like, his style, he loves to hoop. Everything about Kevin Durant is basketball, and I love that. I love so smooth with it. His game is one of one, unique, champion, Hall of Famer, the second best player by a long shot of his generation. But Kevin Durant, it's tough to say this, man. Kevin Durant is not the leader that you need to win a championship. Let me try to explain this. Kevin Durant leads by example. Some guys can lead by example. Hey, I'm going to be in the gym. I'm going to be hooping. Like, follow what I do, and you'll be successful too. If you do what I do, you'll be great too. Sometimes you need a vocal leader. Someone who's going to get you when you don't feel like doing it, when you're not living up to your potential and you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Sometimes you need someone to get up in your face and up in your grill to get you to do what you need to do. Sometimes you need a bad cop to the good cop. And here's the conclusion I've come to. Kevin Durant did not need Steph Curry to win a championship in Golden State. That's a misnomer in my opinion. Kevin Durant did not need Steph Curry. Actually, what Kevin Durant needed was Draymond Green. Kevin Durant needed a Draymond Green on his team to win a championship. Because while Kevin Durant can be a leader in terms of his work ethic and do as I do, follow me, he's not a up-in-your-face guy. He doesn't want to be the bad cop. Kevin Durant just wants to come out and hoop. He's going to get his buckets. You better get yours. So in a sense, he's that kind of leader. He's going to follow me. I'm going to play well. I'm going to play hard. Follow me. He's that kind of leader. But sometimes you need a Draymond Green kind of leader who is going to be the bad cop, who's going to get up in your face. If the coach ain't going to be it, and Kevin Durant's spot stops, he hasn't had the coach who is that kind of in your face, who's challenging dudes, right? Like Michael Malone is Denver Nuggets' leader. Like, he's a bad cop leader. Like, he gets up in these guys' face. He challenges them like mano y mano. Draymond Green was that for the Golden State Warriors. And that's what Kevin Durant needed. Kevin Durant needed Draymond Green in OKC when Russell Westbrook was kind of going off the tracks. There wasn't anyone in OKC to tell Russ, hey, pull it back some. Scott Brooks didn't do it. Billy Donovan didn't do it. Draymond Green would have been the perfect guy to be like, hey, Russ, I love your intensity, but pull it back. So KD probably wins in OKC if he has somebody like Draymond there. He goes to the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, he wants to hoop with his boys, but he's not able to keep his boys accountable. He's not able to hold Harden accountable and hold Kyrie accountable because that's not the type of leader he is. But Draymond would have held those boys accountable. Hey, man, you got to show up to work in your face. Not everyone can play that role. So when Charles Barkley says KD is not a bus driver, it's not his game that's not the bus driver. KD's game is a 1A game. KD's game, like, Steph doesn't do anything in the postseason that KD doesn't do or hasn't done, game-wise. But what Steph has is somebody like Draymond who's able to back him up, who's able to challenge his other teammates, who's able to motivate dudes, verbally challenge dudes. While Steph just gets to run around and prance around the court and run around picks, he doesn't even have to run an offense. He just gets to run around picks and shoot threes. He doesn't have to motivate anybody. He doesn't have to challenge anybody. KD didn't have that. So when he goes to Golden State, he just gets to hoop. He doesn't have to be that kind of leader. He could just lead by his play, but he doesn't have to lead with his words and challenging his teammates to get the most out of them. Like Michael Jordan had both. Not only was his play exceptional, but he was also able to challenge his teammates in their face. Kobe was like that. His play was exceptional, but he also had the personality to challenge his teammates in their face. Not everyone has that. Charles Barkley had that. Charles Barkley's problem was he ran into Michael Jordan. That's why he never won a ring. He didn't win a ring. He ran into better teams. But Charles Barkley's play was as a leader, and he also challenged his teammates as a leader. So if you're going to win a championship, you need somebody, whether it's a coach or another player on the team, to challenge your teammates sometimes, to motivate them, to get the best out of them. And that was Draymond's role with the Golden State Warriors. When things weren't going well, he was able to motivate dudes. So when KD was out there in Golden State, it's not so much that they needed Steph. That Golden State team, without Steph, would have won a championship with KD. People minimize Draymond's role. Nah, Draymond, not only was his defense there, but his intensity was there, and his ability to motivate dudes, to challenge dudes, was one of the biggest reasons why the Golden State Warriors had such success. Of course, now, Draymond has kind of gone off the rails because now he needs somebody to challenge him. And if you look at the dynamics on the team, Steph is unable to challenge Draymond because that's not Steph's personality. So if Draymond, I say, if Draymond hadn't been there all along, I don't know if that dynasty happens. Because Draymond was the one who challenged dudes and helped them to step their game up when, frankly, sometimes they just weren't playing up to their capabilities. Yeah, they had some veterans on that team. That team had a lot of veterans early on. But they still needed that guy who was like the alpha to motivate guys because Steph is not a confrontational guy. Steph is non-confrontational, just like KD is non-confrontational. These guys just want to play basketball and lead by example. But sometimes you're going to need a Draymond Green. And Kevin Durant, KD has not had a leader to play the bad cop to his good cop. Because there's no reason Phoenix should have been swept. Not only swept, but most of the games weren't even close. Even if you lose to the Timberwolves, there is no reason KD and the Suns go out like that. But they go out like that because they don't have a leader on that team. Yeah, they're blaming the coaches now. They're blaming Frank Vogel and whatever system he's running. And I've said it already. They needed a point guard all season. They didn't have a point guard, so that has something to do with it. So I get Minnesota beating you, but there's no reason for Minnesota to beat you that badly. But Minnesota could beat you that badly because there was no one on the team to actually lead from the capacity of saying, hey, man, get your ass up and start playing basketball. Start playing defense. You needed a Draymond Green to motivate dudes. Hey, man, D up. If the coach ain't going to do it, if Vogel ain't going to do it, if Scott Brooks ain't going to do it, if Billy Donovan ain't going to do it, like, you need somebody like Draymond to do it. So I don't think it's Steph that KD needed to win a championship. People use that against them. Nah, it ain't Steph. It ain't Steph that KD needed. He needed a Draymond. He needed somebody to play the bad cop, to motivate the dudes. Because his playoff performance is right in line with Steph. And if it wasn't from one big toe, maybe he does have a championship already. Who knows? But it's clear the Suns team was lacking leadership from that standpoint. Yeah, but Draymond, man, he's gone from the guy who motivated his team and in your face, and now he's gone too far the opposite end to the point where now Draymond is like, shanking, threatening to shank people. People are going to remember Draymond for the guy who just went off the deep end, right? Who's threatening to shank people when really Draymond was the true engine behind those Warriors team. I truly don't think these guys have a dynasty without Draymond. So that is KD's weakness, if you want to call it that, right? Not everyone is like that. It's okay. Not everyone is like that. Not everyone leads like that. Some dudes just want to hoop. KD just wants to hoop with his boys. Put on a show. Not everyone wants that responsibility. Like the Joker ain't like that. Jamal Murray ain't like that. Michael Malone's doing that for him. So as much as I love KD, man, I love his game. One of my favorite players ever. That, to me, is why he hasn't won a championship elsewhere. He didn't have a Draymond. It's not Steph that KD needed. He needed a Draymond Green. Just my thoughts on that. All right. Let's keep going. Hopefully that Suns loss puts an end to big threes. Not just big threes, but hopefully that Suns loss puts an end to people just putting together any kind of, players with no thought of whether they have any chemistry. Like, hopefully that Suns loss says, you know what? Maybe we should build a team with some continuity, with some guys that actually can play together. Maybe we can't just throw any three guys together and play and win a championship. People try to copy the LeBron, Miami, the Heatles model, but no, man, those guys actually were three distinct roles. LeBron could Swiss Army knife and play point guard and score. D. Wade was just a flat-out slasher and scorer. Chris Bosh was versatile, could spot up and shoot, post up. Like, they had different roles. The Suns are literally three of the same player. The Suns are Beal, who's a lesser version of Booker, who's a lesser version of KD, but they really all have the same game. It's literally the same game, just lesser versions of each other. So when you put the Suns together, you're like, of course you guys lost. Duh. Because you guys have redundancy, the same three guys doing the same thing, just on a lesser level from each other. KD, Booker, Beal. Like 3 guys who have similar games, just on lesser levels. So hopefully, this puts an end to people just throwing together 3 cats and saying, hey, we have a big 3, we're going to win a championship. No, man, you need chemistry. Build a team. It's so obvious, man. Like, they all did the same thing. And yeah, they needed a point guard. Everybody could see that. Stevie Wonder could see that. They had nobody to organize them, to set them up. Because those 3 guys play the same style. Pick and roll into the mid-range. All 3 of them. It's just that they just do it at different levels. Like, not everyone's LeBron, dog. LeBron is so different and so unique. LeBron can, in his prime, can score, slash, and he can also sit back and play the point, which allows other dudes around him to do different things, to do what they're good at. KD, Booker, and Beal were the exact same play styles. So, of course, they got beat. Again, I didn't expect them to get swept. I actually thought they would win the series because of their experience, and I thought they would score. They'd be able to score a lot like they did in regular season. But that playoff whistle was different. That playoff intensity was different. Rudy Gobert sitting in the paint was different. And frankly, they got outcoached. So, yeah. Of course the Suns lost. So, yes, please, do away with random big 3s, all right? Do away with just throwing dudes together and saying, here. Roll out the ball and say, here, go hoop. It's not going to win. It's just not. And speaking of the Timberwolves, last topic of the day. I told y'all, man, Anthony Edwards is Michael Jordan's grandson, Kobe Bryant's son. This kid is amazing. So Anthony Edwards is my new favorite player. I think I said that already on this podcast. Anthony Edwards is my new favorite player in the NBA. He does it all. Inside, outside. Whatever you need, he got you. Handles. And he'll continue to get better. His footwork's getting better. I love the guy, man. I love his intensity. He's not afraid of the moment. He's not afraid to match up with anybody. I gave out a 3-year timeline to say Anthony Edwards is going to be the best player in the NBA. I might need to shorten that timeline, man. If this kid keeps working on his game and stays focused and doesn't get distracted, there's nothing stopping Anthony Edwards from being the best player in the league as early as next year. And I mean that 100%. He is legit. Like, that team doesn't have much scoring. It's him and Cat, really. People know what it's about, but he's able to create. He's fearless. He D's up. Anthony Edwards is going to be the face of the league next year, guys. Stay out of trouble, my man. Stay out of trouble. This kid's hops are his athleticism is unbelievable. Man. Oh, man. Shout out to AE, man. And his shoes are nice. I don't wear Adidas. I've been loyal to Nike for a long time, but if I was going to wear Adidas, I would get Anthony Edwards shoes. So, yeah, Anthony Edwards is going to be the face of the league, I think, faster than the 3 years I predicted before. Now it gets real because now they got to go up against Denver. I don't know who's going to win that series. I'm hopeful that Anthony Edwards keeps winning, goes on to win a championship. But we'll see. That one's going to be tough. And also, shout out to Chris Finch. Shout out to Chris Finch, the coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. This guy doesn't get credit. Everybody else is getting credit. Spo, Mark Dagnall with OKC Thunder, who's drumming, the Pelicans right now without Zion. But Chris Finch is a hell of a coach and doesn't get enough credit. So he had them boys ready to play against the Timberwolves. And they swept the hell out of them. So big time wins for Minnesota. AE becoming the face of the league. I was wrong. I predicted 3 years. I think it's going to be shorter than that. This kid is just, I can't stop watching Anthony Edwards play basketball, man. Like this guy is Michael Jordan's grandson, Kobe. Like, he's actually more athletic than Kobe. He really is. He has Jordan's athleticism. Like the springs, that's Michael Jordan's springs right there. Man, oh man, I can't wait to see this kid like reach his full potential. It's gonna be ridiculous. So shout out to AE, man. All right, so the playoffs continue. I'm gonna keep watching. I hope you do. It's been great, man. Like I said, I love the intensity. Cats in each other's faces. This is what we grew up on. So it marches on. I'll be watching. I hope you do too. So I'm going to leave it here for now. I'm going to catch y'all next time. Mike, sports and the real shit. Peace.
I'm going straight to the top. Just put the stack on the clock. I am Ray Allen's a shot. I'm going straight to the top.